There are passages in Scripture that draw us in gently, and there are passages that stop us in our tracks. They raise questions we are almost afraid to ask. They touch something deep in us, something raw and unresolved. Genesis chapter 22 is one of those passages. It does not rush to explain itself. It does not soften its language. It simply tells a story and invites us to stand within it, feeling its weight, listening carefully, and allowing it to search us. What kind of God would ask such a thing? What kind of faith could walk forward under such a command? And what does this ancient journey up a mountain have to do with our own lives today? This is Bible Scope, your place to find light, find truth, and find purpose. That if this journey speaks to your heart, like the video, and subscribe to walk through Scripture with us. The story opens quietly, almost deceptively so. After these things, God tested Abraham. The phrase, "after these things," matters. Abraham is not a young man at the beginning of his journey anymore. Decades have passed since he first left Ur. He has walked through famine, failure, waiting, covenant promises, and impossible fulfillment. Isaac, the child of promise, has been born. Laughter has replaced barrenness. The future finally seems secure, and it is precisely here that the test comes. The text tells us plainly that this is a test. But Abraham does not hear that word. He does not know the ending. He only hears his name spoken by God, and he answers as he always has, "Here I am." This response is more than politeness. It is availability. It is the posture Abraham has learned over a lifetime of walking with God. Before knowing what is asked, he offers himself fully present. Then comes the command, spoken with devastating clarity. "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains that I shall show you." Every phrase tightens the tension. Your son, your only son, whom you love. Scripture does not rush past the emotional reality. It names it. Historically, this moment must be understood within the broader world of the ancient Near East. Child sacrifice was known among surrounding cultures. It was associated with desperate attempts to appease deities. Yet throughout Scripture, God consistently condemns such practices. This makes the command all the more disturbing. Abraham is not being asked to do something culturally unthinkable, but something theologically contradictory to everything he has come to know about God's promises. Isaac is not just Abraham's son. He is the embodiment of God's covenant. Through Isaac, God said the promise would continue. The command places Abraham in an impossible tension. Obey God, and the promise seems to die. Preserve the promise, and disobey God. The test is not about cruelty. It is about trust when understanding collapses. The narrative slows down here, inviting us to walk step by step. Abraham rises early in the morning. There is no recorded argument, no delay, no internal monologue offered to soften the moment. Scripture's restraint is intentional. It forces us to sit with the silence. Abraham saddles his donkey, splits the wood, takes 2 young men and Isaac, and sets out. The journey takes 3 days. 3 days of walking. 3 days of knowing what lies ahead. Every step stretches the space between command and action. The land itself becomes part of the test. Distance allows reflection, fear, memory, and temptation to turn back. Yet Abraham keeps walking down on the 3rd day. Abraham lifts his eyes and sees the place from afar. This detail echoes earlier moments in Genesis when lifting the eyes marked decision and consequence. Here, it marks recognition. The place God has chosen is not hidden. It is visible. The moment has arrived. Abraham tells the young men to stay behind. "I and the boy will go over there and worship and come again to you." His words are carefully chosen, whether spoken in faith, hope, or something deeper than both. Abraham speaks of return. The text does not explain his inner reasoning, but later Scripture reflects on this moment, suggesting that Abraham trusted God could even raise the dead. Faith here is not certainty about the method, but confidence in God's faithfulness. Abraham places the wood on Isaac. This image is easy to pass over, but is heavy with meaning. The son carries the instrument of his own offering. They walk together, father and son, side by side. Isaac breaks the silence with a simple, devastating question. "My father." Abraham answers again, "Here I am, my son." Isaac continues, "Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?" The question hangs in the air. It is the heart of the story. Abraham responds, "God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son." The words are true, though Abraham may not yet understand how. Provision is placed entirely in God's hands. They reach the place. Abraham builds the altar. He arranges the wood. Each action is deliberate. Each movement brings the test closer to its climax. He binds Isaac. Scripture does not record resistance. Isaac is not an infant. He is strong enough to carry wood up a mountain. His silence speaks of trust, whether in his father, in God, or in both. This is not only Abraham's test, it is Isaac's as well. Abraham lifts the knife. The moment is unbearable. Then the voice of the angel of the Lord calls out from heaven, calling his name twice. "Abraham, Abraham." Urgency enters the story. Abraham responds, as he always has. "Here I am." He is told not to lay a hand on the boy. "Now I know that you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." This does not mean God lacked knowledge before. Scripture often speaks of God knowing in relational terms. The test reveals, makes visible, brings faith into action. Abraham's trust is no longer only internal. It has been enacted fully. Abraham lifts his eyes again and sees a ram caught in a thicket by its horns. Provision appears at the moment of surrender. The ram is offered in place of Isaac. The language of substitution enters the story quietly but powerfully. God provides what Abraham could not. Abraham names the place the Lord will provide. The name carries forward, echoing beyond the moment. Provision is not just about this day. It becomes a testimony for future generations. The mountain becomes a place of memory. The angel speaks again, reaffirming the covenant. The promise is repeated with even greater emphasis. Abraham's obedience does not earn the promise, but it reveals the depth of his trust in the one who gave it. As we read this story carefully, we must resist two extremes. One is to soften it too much, turning it into a simple lesson about obedience. The other is to sensationalize it, focusing only on shock. Scripture does neither. It invites reverent contemplation. What does this reveal about God? It reveals a God who tests not to destroy, but to refine. A God who does not delight in sacrifice for its own sake, but in trust. A God who provides, even when the way forward seems impossible. The story makes clear that God does not ultimately desire human sacrifice. He stops it. He replaces it. He reveals himself as different from the gods of fear. What does this reveal about humanity? It shows the depth of trust that faith can reach, but also the cost. Faith is not abstract belief. It is lived obedience in moments where clarity is absent. Abraham is not portrayed as emotionless. He is portrayed as faithful in silence. His obedience is not reckless. It is rooted in years of walking with God. The literary placement of this story matters. It comes after Isaac's birth and before his family story unfolds. It stands as a hinge moment. After this, Abraham's active role diminishes. The promise has been entrusted forward. The test marks completion, not beginning. Across Scripture, this story echoes quietly. Later readers notice the parallels between Isaac and future acts of provision. A bit of idson would carry it up a hill, a father's willingness, a substitute provided. Scripture allows these connections to emerge naturally, without forcing them. They deepen reflection rather than resolve mystery. For us today, the story asks careful questions. What do we hold as untouchable? Where do we assume God's promises must look a certain way? How do we respond when obedience and understanding seem to part ways? The story does not ask us to imitate the action, but to examine the trust. Abraham's journey up Moriah reminds us that faith sometimes leads us into spaces we would never choose. Yet it also reminds us that God remains present, attentive, and faithful within those spaces. The God who tests is the God who provides. The God who asks is the God who sees. As we sit with this passage, we are invited not to rush to answers, but to remain with the text, to let it speak slowly, to allow its weight to shape you. As we've walked through this passage, what truth stood out to you? How might it shape the way you live today? If this exploration helped you grow, like the video and subscribe. The journey through the pages is just beginning.